Today we will discuss on Joe Biden, the President-elect of the United States, the biopolitics, foreign policy, and the worth and the position of Joe Biden. Reportedly by Forbes, it is presented that Joe Biden's worth is $9 million only. If we compare between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, the news tell us the reminiscent of the 2016 election. It emerged recently that President Trump paid $750 or less in taxes over the past several years, and that he and his companies have outstanding debt that may exceed $1 billion. This on top of the news last month that his net worth dropped $100 million to $25 million in a single year. And this stands in contrast to someone who was once referred to as the poorest man in the Congress. Joe Biden, the poorest man in Congress. Granted, presidential candidate Biden is still wealthy by anyone's standards, but his net worth and how he obtained it is easier to trace, especially because he has released his tax returns every year for more than a decade, with a family history that spanned both wealth and hardship. Biden spent many years as middle-class Joe before he obtained his current net worth. So how did he make his money, and how much is he worth today? According to Forbes, Joe Biden is a millionaire. Joe is reportedly worth $9 million at present, which is significantly more than earlier in his career. This number from Forbes and calculated in 2019 is based on a total portfolio of $4 million in real estate. Joe and his wife Jill Biden own 2 homes in Delaware, cash investments worth $4 million, and a federal pension worth more than $1 million. The Bidens released their tax returns from 2016 to 2018, which showed that they paid about a third of their income in taxes in 2017 and 2018, $3.7 million and $1.5 million, respectively, and that they donated a significant amount to charity in 2017 and 2018. That was amountly in $1,000,000 and $275,000, respectively. The family of the Biden experienced both the poverty and the wealth. Joe Biden Sr., the father of the junior Biden, who had a profound impact on his son, came from wealth. His father ran a division of American Idol, but Joe Sr. set out as an entrepreneur and had several business failures, leaving the family impoverished. According to his son's memoir, at one point the children even went to stay with their grandmother. Joe Sr. eventually found work selling cars, and the family settled in Delaware, where they remain to this day. And Joe Jr., the president-elect, completed a work-study program to attend the prestigious Archmere Academy in Claremont. Joe started working at a law firm after his marriage to first wife, Nyla, and then became one of the youngest senators ever to be elected. with a starting salary at about $42,500 a year and $250,000 in today's dollars, adjusted for inflation. He started releasing his tax forms in 1998, which indicated that Tu made money from his Senate salary. Jill's work in community colleges also contributed to their overall salary. She has been an educator for more than 3 decades. In 2009, Ju's senator's salary was $169,300. Then his salary as President Obama's vice president averaged about $225,000 every year. Biden's net worth was increased during and after his vice presidency. When Joe officially ended his term as vice president, he filed a financial disclosure form that listed his net worth between $897,000 and $489,000. But then in the subsequent 2 years, the couple apparently made more than $15 million in speaking fees. Both he and Jill released memoirs. A leadership at the Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement at the University of Pennsylvania. He is currently on leave of absence. In turn, they were able to make more donations and pay off one of their mortgages. One is still outstanding, as well as a line of credit for one of their sons, and buy a new property in Rehoboth Beach. If he wins the presidency, his salary will be $4 lakh a year, not including an expense allowance, and Jill has said she will continue working too. Hours prior to the debate, Biden released his 2019 tax returns. On September 29, hours before the debate, Biden released his 2019 tax returns. They showed that he and Jill had received $985,233 in adjusted gross income and paid about $3 lakh in taxes. Biden has now released 22 years of tax returns. Trump has released none. Biden's running mate Kamala Harris and his husband Douglas Emhoff also released her recent filings, paying $1.19 million in federal taxes on about $3.1 million in income. If you want to know more about Kamala Harris networks, some things are here. The releases came days after the New York Times report that revealed nearly 2 decades of Trump's long withheld tax filings. Most importantly, he paid $750 in federal income tax in 2016 and 2017 and paid no income tax in 10 of the 15 years before 2017. Trump has denied the allegations made in the article, saying it was totally fake news and made up at a press conference just moments after its release. Biden's deputy campaign manager, Kat Bedingfield, said, "Releasing the document showed a historic level of transparency mean to the American people faith, once again, that their leaders will look out for them and not their own bottom line." Joe Biden is the resident of Scranton, Pennsylvania. Biden married to Jill Biden, an educator. Together they have a daughter named Ashley. From Biden's previous marriage to Nyla Hunter, he has a son, Hunter, and daughter Ashley, while married to Hunter, with whom he also had a 1-year-old daughter named Nomi. The two were killed in an automobile accident in 1972. Biden's other son with Hunter, Beau Biden, died in 2015 after suffering from brain cancer. Biden's political party is Democratic. If we see the glimpses of previous jobs and political positions of the Joe Biden, so those are as Vice President of the United States from 2019 to 2017, U.S. Senator from Delaware 1973 to 2009, public speaker and author. What are Joe Biden's positions? Biden was Vice President and he made crucial negotiations and produced the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare Act. Biden supports a health care plan that would build upon the ACA, Affordable Care Act, including an expansion of the public option. The plan would also not allow pharmaceutical corporations to avoid negotiating with Medicare over drug prices. Consumers would be allowed to import drugs from other countries, which the Biden campaign says would promote fairness. He opposes Medicare for all, a proposal that would make the government the main health insurance provider for Americans. It has made him a frequent target from left-wing candidates like Bernie Sanders. His policies on immigrations. Biden supports a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. The former Vice President has pledged to protect dreamers, or people brought to the U.S. illegally as children. In contrast to some other Democratic candidates, Biden expressed opposition to decriminalizing illegal border crossings. Biden voted for the Secure Fence Act of 2006, which built additional walls and barriers along the U.S.-Mexico border. In January 2019, Biden said, "We need border security, but that's not the border security we need." In reference to the wall, Trump demanded lawmakers give him the funds to end the partial government shutdown. Biden was also Vice President when former President Obama created the Defend Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA program, which granted temporary legal status to undocumented immigrants taken to the United States as minors. Biden has rejected giving drivers licenses to undocumented immigrants as recently as 2007. Biden defended the Obama administration's record on deportations when confronted about it. During the September Democratic debate, the president did the best thing that was able to be done, Biden said. And on climate change, Biden supported the Paris Climate Accords, which the Trump administration abandoned in 2017. Biden has called the Paris Accords the best way to protect our children and global leadership. Unlike many of the far left Democratic candidates, Biden has not endorsed the Green New Deal, which would usher in radical transformations of the U.S. economy to reduce human impact on global climate change. In June 2019, Biden released a proposal to spend $1.7 trillion on green energy technologies over the next 10 years, with the ultimate goal of putting the U.S. on track to eliminate net greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Biden released a host of new climate change proposals, but came under criticism for having copied several passages from outside sources without attribution. Biden had an awkward moment during a CNN town hall in September 2019 when he was asked how he could be depended on to take on fossil fuel companies despite plans to attend a fundraiser hosted by the co-founder of a liquefied natural gas production company. Biden said, "I was told by my staff He does not have any responsibility related to the company. In response to the question during the town hall, and if they turns out not to be true, then I will not in any way accept this help. Biden does not support banning fracking, but does support banning new drilling on public land. On campaign for finance, Biden has taken credit for advising Bernie Sanders not to accept donations from corporate PACs, but has not made any pledges himself for the 2020 race. He wrote in an op-ed for Politico magazine about the dangers of dark money groups from foreign donors into super PACs. Campaign finance reform is certainly a necessary part of the solution, but so too is disclosure of beneficial ownership and greater transparency in real estate transactions. He wrote, as matters of national security, these are issues that should be of interest to both Democrats and Republicans who want to reduce our vulnerability to foreign corrupt influence. His policies on abortion. Biden is a practicing Catholic, but maintains that access to abortion should be legal. He has said abortion is always wrong, but he is not willing to impose that belief onto others. In regard to late-term abortions, Biden has consistently been against it. Biden also reversed his position on the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal funds from providing for abortions. He now supports federal funding for abortions. On LGBTQ rights, like most politicians on both sides of the aisle, Biden had historically opposed same-sex marriage. Before it became legal in the landmark 2015 Supreme Court case, Obergefell versus Hodges, Biden said he was absolutely comfortable with same-sex marriage. Biden's remarks came before Obama announced support for it as well. Biden is also a supporter of allowing transgender Americans to serve in the military, an Obama-era policy the Trump administration has rescinded. And on education, Biden endorses making college tuition fee for families making less than $125,000. He wants to expand students' loan debt forgiveness eligibility. Biden supports universal preschool access. And on guns, Biden wants universal background checks, including on secondary peer-to-peer sales on guns. He wants to renew the federal assault weapon ban and is pushing for a federal program buy back assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. In 2012, he was appointed to head the gun violence task force in the wake of the Sandy Hook attack. The group put forth new regulations on magazine size limits, stricter penalties for trafficking firearms, and new tools to prosecute gun-related crimes. These proposed reforms call to become law. On criminal justice reform, Biden ushered in multiple bills that imposed mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses during his time as the top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee in the 1980s. He has gone on record defending his role in shaping and passing the 1994 crime bill, which many Democrats now oppose. Biden opposes legalizing marijuana because he said it might be a gateway drug, despite the fact research does not support this perception. Biden's campaign has said that as president, he would decriminalize marijuana use, automatically expunge prior possession conviction, support legalization of medical marijuana, and allow states to set their own rules about recreational use. The former vice president does not support defunding police departments. Biden wants to end the death penalty. He supports ending the federal use of private prisons. Biden does not want to end qualified immunity, but does support reforming it. On trades, Biden voted for the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which Trump has repeatedly excoriated and threatened to unilaterally withdraw from. He supported the Trans-Pacific Partnership and urged lawmakers to pass it during Obama's final months. Biden is typically a supporter of free trade, backing calls for protectionist policies like heavy tariffs on various industries. And on foreign policy, Biden was an ardent supporter of the Obama administration's nuclear deal with Iran and key allies aiming to limit their nuclear proliferation program, and has lambasted Trump for withdrawing from it. He has rejected inviting Russia back into the group of seven, saying that it makes no sense. Biden supported the Obama administration's drone strikes programs in Syria. He said he argued against military intervention in Libya in 2011, saying that it could become a petri dish for the growth of extremism. Biden voted to authorize the Iraq war, but has since spoken out against the decision. At the July 2019 Democratic presidential debate in Detroit, Biden said of his vote in favor of the Iraq war, "I did make a bad judgment." On taxes, Biden wants higher taxes on wealthy Americans in key areas like passive income. Biden has said he would not increase taxes for anyone who earns less than $4 lakh per year. The former vice president wants to increase the corporate tax rate to 28%. He has also argued for boosting tax relief for middle-class families, including expansions of the child tax credit. The money Joe Biden raised during the campaign, Biden and the Democratic National Committee have raised $990 million. Biden's 2020 campaign had $180 million in cash on hand at the end of August. Enumerating the Joe Biden's political successes, we can see Biden served as a chairman of two influential committees during his career in the Senate, including Judiciary and Foreign Relations Committee. He introduced the Violence Against Women Act, which President Bill Clinton signed into law in 1994. He was elected vice president twice in 2008 and 2012. Biden is the 2020 Democratic presidential nominee, but now he is the president-elect.